If you're a human being, you have a story. If you have a story, you must say it out.
Okay, it's the CharchaCast. With me today, Nikhil Taneja. Nikhil, how are you today?
I'm good, Nick. Thank you so much.
Nikhil, of course, CEO, co-founder of Yuva, also on the global advisory board for the Goalkeepers, which is part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And Yuva is, well, how would you describe Yuva?
It's a purpose-driven youth media company. I think one of its kind. We try to. I think the most important part of Yuva is that where all media companies are one-way communication, we are a two-way. We kind of engage with young people as well. But philosophically, what we're trying to do at Yuva is that we're trying to make young people feel less alone with our content.
So you're creating content for video, TV, that sort of thing, but that has a purpose, right? That's sort of helping connect people and make young people not feel alone. You're also a writer, producer, and in your spare time, somehow you're a TV critic. So I thought we'd start with, what is the best show on Netflix right now?
I'm going to give you three, actually, because it's very tough to choose just one. Stranger Things, that's a popular one. That's the one that, and I think Stranger Things is one of those shows that has come out of nowhere and shown the capability of web shows as a medium to have create a new mythology in today's world and make everyone care about it to this extent. I just love Stranger Things. I think it's everything right with content. There's BoJack Horseman. I don't know if you've seen that.
That is the right answer. I was waiting for you to say anything, and I was going to say that's the wrong answer. The best show on Netflix is BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, no, I started with the popular one so that we have the masses like this, and then
my respect for you just went like.
BoJack Horseman, without a doubt, is perhaps, I think, existential crisis. I think what we are facing as a generation of people who have grown up with the internet in this world, there is nothing better than BoJack Horseman to describe and make it really, really funny as well, right? And then the third show is actually a very underseen, underrated show. It's a British show, actually, and I always get so surprised why it's not seen so much. It's called Lovesick. And it's one of those recommendations that I just give. I personally feel responsible to tell everybody I meet about the show and be like, you must see this. It's a rom-com about, it's got a hilarious premise. There's this guy who gets a sexually transmitted disease and he needs to call up all his ex-girlfriends and tell them about it and check with them, are you okay? But it's a show about friendship. It's a show about what love means for the millennial generation. And it's just absolutely lovely.
So I want to come back to BoJack Horseman for a second because I think it's a great sort of segue to something that you're passionate about. It's mental health, right? And that show for me is, so you're passionate about mental health and you're passionate about purpose-driven content. But in an entertaining way. And that show, BoJack Horseman, ticks all those boxes for me, right? Because it's a very stark look at mental health and some pretty troubling stuff. It's really entertaining. So I mean, what do you take away from that show, and how does that sort of help you, inspire you to sort of the type of programming you're doing?
Unfortunately, and I loved how you have described it, and it ticks all these boxes. Unfortunately, the way we have looked at, anything that is socially conscious in the past, whenever in the past you look at socially conscious, it's always come with a certain amount of messaging. The moral of the story is.
It's preachy.
Yeah, it's preachy, right? So it's PSAs, it's 2-minute ads, it's stuff that is meant to make you cry, it's stuff that you see it and you get this smell, okay, this is a socially conscious piece of content, versus what is happening, which is beautiful right now, is that there's so much that needs to be said in the world, and creators are finding a way. Creators know that the best way to do it is actually through entertainment. So BoJack Horseman, you never actually, when you first start watching BoJack Horseman, you're not looking at it as a show about mental health. You're watching it as a show about this washed up, actor and the shenanigans that he does.
It's a cartoon horse.
It's a cartoon horse, exactly. It's hilarious. It's so funny. And then suddenly you're hit with these, existential, there's this one line that I actually have it framed because I just, of the BoJack Horseman that I love so much, which says that it's not going to be easy. I mean, it's the BoJack Horseman has reached that place in his life where he's just about to give up, and then there's this donkey, I think, or was it another horse that is just running by, who stops and just gives him this nugget of wisdom, and he says, it's not going to be easy. You will get over it, but you have to do it every day. And I'm not able to get the right one. I'm sorry, I'm not able to get the right 2 lines, but it's a beautiful, beautiful line about how it's very hard to get it right, but as long as you do it every day, you will get it right. It's very hard to make sure that you get over whatever you're going through, but the only thing is you have to do it every day. And it's beautiful. It just gives me so many nuggets of wisdom. If I had to take another route to explain what socially conscious content can look like, Black Panther, $1 billion, right? $1 billion, one of the most entertaining movies, superhero films that you've seen, something that empowered an entire community that didn't see itself being represented. That is socially conscious as well. Why? Because everything within the movie, the setups, the conversations, about the 2 different sides of black activism, which are being spoken of in that film, and it is done as a superhero series by Ryan Coogler with fabulous music, and that is really what socially conscious content can be. And when you look at it today, anything that is representative in so many different ways is socially conscious. So I think the boundaries of what should be purpose-driven, socially conscious, and what can be entertaining, it's just blurred right now, and I'm so glad, because otherwise, I think we've also reached this place where if it's just entertainment, somewhere we just feel like, what are we taking away? I think somewhere we also feel like we've spent this amount of time. It comes down to victory or loss. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but it really comes down to whether you win or lose. If you're watching something right now, there's a certain amount of investment of time. Time is the most important resource in today's world. If you're giving something a bit of time and it works for you, you've won. And you're just like, wait, I just gained something because of this. But if it doesn't work for you and it's not good, you just feel like, okay, what did I really do? And so it kind of mood uplifter, not just in a way of entertainment, but also what you gain and lose from your life.
But what about this classic argument that, on the pure entertainment side, it's escapism, right? Yeah. It's, I'm having a fight at work, or I got fired, or my kids are driving me crazy, or whatever, and I go into this movie theater and I sit down for 2 hours and I watch something totally mindless, and it's just like an escape, right? Like, isn't there room for that as well, or no?
So I have always heard this argument from everyone, and I just think that I don't think any entertainment is mindless. Number one, because it takes a lot of effort to put anything together. The shittiest thing you see, the worst thing you see that you might be like, oh, this is just mindless entertainment. It takes a lot of effort. You have to put hundreds and hundreds of people need to come together to make a bad film. So it's not mindless. There's a lot of minds coming together for even that. Within that, if there's something that you don't actually take away, that's subjective, right? There are people who, I have seen films, one of my favorite films is the film called Andaz Apna Apna. Okay, it's this Indian film. It is absolutely, completely mindless in that sense. But it has taught me so much about comedy. It has taught me so much about humor. It is, my handle on Instagram and all social media is Taneja Main Hoon, which means I am Taneja, and it's a pun on something that is said in that film, which released in the early 90s, which is Teja Main Hoon Maar Kidhar Hai. So I call myself Taneja Main Hoon, etc. But the reason that I love it, even though it doesn't have purpose to it, etc., the purpose of it was to make us laugh. There is a purpose. Okay. The purpose of it is to make us feel good about ourselves in that moment. So I don't think there is anything as mindless entertainment in any case.
Then what is the purpose? I'm going to pick on an American, but that's okay. What is the purpose of Iron Man?
Again, see, I think it's so important that for everyone in the world, life is tough, right? Life is not easy. There are of course, being in the State Department, that at a socio-political level, there's so much happening in the world. But individual life is also not easy, right? Like in everybody's life on a daily basis, there's just so much you have to overcome. And it could be the tiniest things. It could be as tiny as, okay, today my cooker is not working, and you're just like, man, I have to go to office, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to meet these people. And in the middle of this, suddenly an electronic gadget has blown up and I have to now find a way to fix it. It can be as small as that. It could be as big as I've lost someone in my life. It could be as problematic as there is a problem that is happening in the world socio-politically that is an issue. In the middle of all of that, you need something that makes you feel like all of this is not entirely pointless. You need to kind of take a moment to just forget about what is happening and be with yourself and be with something that makes you feel good about yourself. Sometimes it's a great conversation. Sometimes it's just hanging out with a friend for a very long time. And sometimes it's a Marvel film which you go in a theater and you're guaranteed to come out with a smile on your face. That's the purpose of Iron Man. But that's one purpose. I think the other purpose always, I think superheroes overall, I just think empower young people in a very, very big way.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I come to a movie like that as an adult now, obviously. Yeah. But if you look back as a kid or something, right? Yeah. They are there to inspire and make you feel like anything's possible.
Absolutely.
And okay, fine, I'll give Iron Man a pass. So moving a little bit then to creating sort of purpose-driven content. When you set out to make something, are you thinking of, okay, I want to do something on mental health or TB, and then how do I frame it, or do you sort of start with what would be really entertaining, and then how do we insert something socially conscious into it? Like, what's the process?
I think it's far more organic than that. I think the organic part of it lies in the fact, what is it that I care about? And what means something to me? What is meaningful to me right now that may be also meaningful to other people, right? Now, of course, as content creators, we are making this for other people. You're not just making it for yourself. Otherwise, you make a home video and watch it and be like, oh, I'm so great, right? You're making it for other people. So, is this something that you feel collectively that is meaningful to you? The issue that you guys, everybody collectively is caring for right now, or you feel there's an issue that needs to be cared about more, because it's a prevalent issue, a pervasive issue, and unfortunately, not many people are doing something about it. But overall, for any content creator, any writer, any producer, any director, unless it is something that you feel very strongly about, I always feel that, the best art comes from, people who care more strongly. Like, if you have to make a film, the best film will always be from that person who, if he or she does not make the film, they'll die. It has to be that. That's the best film. Like, I feel like if Jordan Peele would not have made Get Out, I don't think he would have survived. You get it?
But where does I gotta be honest with you? I'm not that passionate about anything, right? Like, I can't. There's nothing that I get. Like, if I didn't do something or make something, I don't know what that thing is. I'd be like, where does that come from though? That sort of, if I don't make it, I'm gonna die.
I know. I think it's about art, and why do you even? I know. So there are people obviously, who think that art is time pass, right? It's just it's something that you do. I think creativity though is the best form of expression. It is how you express yourselves. Like we express, most people express themselves with words, with actions, etc. I think there is another form. Creativity in many ways is therapy for a lot of people, whether it's just drawing, whether it is creating something for a visual medium, whether it is creating something for an audio medium. It is about expression. There is something inside of me that I need to put outside, and I always feel the philosophy of Yuva also comes from something that I have very strongly felt in. Either it makes me feel less alone, or it makes someone else feel less alone. That's really what it is. I think all of us have something that we want. All of us in the world somewhere just want to belong, and the way expression and creativity helps us bridge that gap. When I put something out and you connect with it, I know that I belong because you have connected with it. Because I know that I'm not alone in the way that I feel. Nick feels the same way. That's the reason Nick has liked it. And then for Nick watching this, you are seeing something and you're like, oh my God, I've always felt like this, and there's somebody who's made it. So clearly I'm not alone. So somewhere it is art in many ways makes people belong. It's a community. People who watch entertainment, who watch content. I feel that they're a large part of a global community of people who are just looking to belong in some way or the other.
Yeah, but how do you find that community, right? If you've got your thing, if you don't have a large Hollywood studio behind you, and you've got this thing that I have to put this out or I'm going to die, and you make it, and you make it on YouTube, and it's whatever it is. Where's that person who's feeling alone and wants to how do I find that connection?
The internet is magic, right now. The internet has democratized every form of expression. Let me not even talk about internet. TikTok. Right, let's just talk about TikTok, which is looked down upon by a lot of people as, oh, this is cringe, stuff. This is not cool. This is not fun. Who are these people? What are they doing? This is not art at all. But at the base level, TikTok, see, we have unfortunately kept boundaries to art. Like, even the reason you're asking this question is because our understanding of art and our understanding of creativity is that it takes a certain amount of money to be able to put together a movie. It takes a certain amount of studio and a lot of production to be able to create something at a global level. But that's not what art is. Art can genuinely be you making a, 1 minute piece with a beginning, middle, end, which is you talking to a camera. That is also art. Who are we to put restrictions and boundaries on what art can be? So TikTok is, I feel, one of the most free-flowing forms of expression of people who don't have the access, the opportunities, the money as those people who have the privilege of being in Bollywood or Hollywood and any of the world cinemas and have the money to be able to pull it off. That's art as well. And every form of art matters. Every creative expression matters. As long as you're getting to... And I'm telling you, there's always an audience. And the internet has this magical thing that it finds its audience.
Okay, I agree that the 10-second TikTok video is art, and that if it helps someone express themselves or it gives someone an opportunity to say something that they absolutely want to say, and it's a platform for it, it's amazing, right? Yeah. It's something we didn't have 20 years ago. There was nowhere to do it. But I think this whole idea of finding an audience, money does kind of matter, right? Like if I have $1 million to promote my TikTok video, through ads and the rest of it, that's going to get a lot more exposure and it's going to connect with a lot more people than if it's just I put it up there and my 3 friends see it.
See, it might get a lot of exposure, but it may not connect with a lot of people even then. Like, have you heard of Cats? The film that released in America last year. It's got Taylor Swift in it. It's got James Corden in it. It's got a bunch of Hollywood biggies in it, and it's a massive flop.
Cats is a terrible musical to begin with, so it's rightfully a flop. But,
but I'm just saying, it's got global. They have put God knows how many millions of dollars of getting it across. It's not connected with anybody. Why? As you said, it's a bad piece of content for a large amount of people.
Apologies to Andrew Lloyd Webber, whoever put it.
I mean. The film, I've not seen the musical, but the film, everyone's seen it and critics have reviled it and pretty much said it's terrible. But even that has like 5 people who are like, no, it's actually great. It's made for those 5 people, which is fine. It just unfortunately made at that level that 5 people is not a good enough audience. But TikTok, now it's being made for those 3 people. Now, if those 3 people connect with it and they tell 3 other people who tell 3 other people, even if that one video gets 9 people to begin with, and then the next video gets 18 people, and the next after that, and so on and so forth, till they get 900, 9,000. That's how internet works, right? It really depends on what you have to say and how many different people is it going to connect with. Some people are still not doing this for followers. They're just doing it to express. They're just like, I'm going to put this out. If someone follows me, likes it, shares it, great. If not, I just want to do it. And that's the beauty of the internet. Why does it even matter? Sometimes you're not just doing it for anybody else. As I said, you're just doing it to make yourself feel less alone.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's a good message too, right? Yeah. That don't be discouraged if you think there's a lack of that you're going to put something up and only you and your mom are going to see it, right? That sometimes the act of creating it just in and of itself is therapeutic. I mean, heck, they call it art therapy, right? Like that's a whole thing.
Absolutely.
So if you've got a phone, everyone's got a phone. Yeah. Put it in front of you, say something, put it up, and do it every day. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Yuva, though. Sure. This is a good sort of transition into that. Tell me a little bit more about how it evolved and what types of things you're working on.
It's always difficult for me to explain how this came about because there's so many different things that happened in my life that led to it. one of which being Yash Raj. You know, I used to work in Yash Raj Films, which is India's biggest movie studio. I was heading development for the youth wing called Y Films. At Y Films in 2014-2015, we were the studio that actually made India's third web series, you know, overall, right? So
cool.
Before Netflix, before Amazon.
Yeah.
It was a show called Man's World, which we actually did in association with the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. And that blew up. Then we did a series called Bang Baja Bara. That blew up. All the stuff we did at Y Films was actually socially conscious. We did a show about sex education. We did a show about transgender rights. I mean, it was a pop musical that we created that ended up winning the Cannes Grand Prix Glass Lion.
Wow.
So yeah. So we, I mean, in 2 years.
Really?
Absolutely,
that's pretty cool,
it's pretty crazy. Yeah, in 2 years, I mean, from feminism to, I mean, trans rights to sex education to gender equality, we made all of these shows. They were super entertaining, and we managed to get 2 million followers, 100 million views in 2 years in 2015-16. You know, and that made me realize that if we are doing socially conscious entertainment and socially conscious entertainment, there is an audience for it, because the new generation of young people needs it. How did I know that? Because I was a teacher. For 7 years, I was teaching at a college called Jai Hind, where I was a professor of journalism, but I would do a lot of mental health advocacy as part of my course. What I would realize, Nick, and this is something that, I mean, I think I'm most grateful in my life for the time that I was a teacher. Most grateful for that, purely because I think I wasn't just teaching, I was just learning. And that's what young people are, right? You learn so much from them. They have these passionate views. They come from, they're not cynical, they're not skeptic about what is the world. They just put themselves out there. They're vulnerable in that sense. And I learned that in a class of 50 students, every young person is going through something. But unfortunately, as content creators, we have this idea of what young people are, which is so different from who they really are. So in Bollywood, you know, if you see any youth film, it's typically a romantic comedy. That's it. You know, Bollywood believes that young people only fall in love. They do nothing else with their time. They don't have jobs. They don't have friends. They are only out there looking for someone that they can get laid with or get married to. That's it. That's literally the idea of young people in Bollywood. And it's just sad.
So who are those movies for? What's the purpose?
It is right. It is for those people who, and unfortunately, again, if I have to go into this is a very long thing. But to quickly summarize, those films are really, in India, for young people, it's, how do I explain this? Society, typically art is created, you know, for, you know, as a reflection of society. Okay, that's typically the art. You know, something is happening in society, art is created to reflect that. Let's say Black Panther, very, very best example, reflects what is happening in the world, socio-politically, in the black community as well, and it's made as a response to that. In India, society is actually a reflection of art. I'm not even kidding, right? So in India, you look back, as long as you look back, people actually behave after watching. The impact of Bollywood has been so massive. One example, in our religious festivals, people dance to something like dance numbers.
That's so true.
Yeah, dance numbers from Bollywood films. And you know, it's sad, but there's something called the item number, which is a really tragic thing, that you're calling a girl an item and you're calling it an item number, girls dancing in less clothes. Those songs are played in a religious festivals for people to dance on. That is the impact of Bollywood in the smallest. Switzerland has a statue of a film called Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. You know, there's a whole, that is a film of Yash Raj films. It's one of the most popular Indian films ever made, and it took place in Switzerland. And Switzerland tourism has changed forever because of that one film. You know, so there is a huge impact.
So this is, I'm a scuba diver, and someone had told me that there was a Bollywood film that featured scuba diving or something, and that all of a sudden launched like people wanting to go and get a selfie underwater or whatever.
Zindagi Milegi Na Dobara.
Yeah.
It took place in Europe, and people started taking Euro trips after that.
Yeah.
You know, Dil Chahta Hai, a film that made Goa cool. Goa was a place where families used to go to. I remember with my parents when I was young, my father took me to Goa. You know, and after that film, Dil Chahta Hai, where a bunch of 3 friends go to Goa for like a college trip, Goa changed forever. It became a place for young people because of that one film. So that's the impact of Bollywood. So it's actually the other way around. That Bollywood has started creating rom-coms, so young people in India feel that the only thing they require in their life is love.
Right.
It's weird, right? And this is what I would realize, the dissonance. Because I'd hear these young people, somebody is saying I have a mental health issue, somebody is talking about the fact that, they want to take this career, but the parents are not allowing them. Somebody is talking about something as serious as sexual harassment. And all I see are romantic comedies.
Right, and so I think, and God, not to put because I hated it when old people would tell me what I thought when I was a young person, but if I'm 20 years old and I have anxiety or whatever it is, or I'm fighting with my parents, I'm doing poorly in school, something, I'm thinking, God, I'm supposed to be out looking for love. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now, right? Like, this
Absolutely. And the problem, the thing is that there's so many, there's so much to explain over here, because I talk a lot about young people. I also give a lot of talks and etc. And so my understanding of this is a very historically, etc. So just to very quickly try to summarize this. Earlier, what used to happen, the previous generation, I would say even before the millennials, the way boys and girls, gender worked in India and has always worked in India. India is a patriarchal society. That's the one thing that everybody kind of just agrees to. India is a patriarchal society. And in India, the way that it's always worked is movies. In movies, there is a man called the hero.
Yeah.
In India, it's not called an actor, it's not called lead actor, it's called hero. Because he's meant to do heroic things. The hero will save the world. The hero will beat up the villain. The hero will save the girl from the villain and save the world in the process. What does the girl who's called the heroine do? She dances. That's it. The heroine doesn't do anything heroic. She gets saved by the boy. She dances while he's saving her. She dances while he's saving the world. She dances while he's saving the villain. Literally, there's one of the most popular Indian films is a film called Sholay, in which the heroine is caught by the villain, and there is a whole sequence where you have to dance now. This is, and so unfortunately, the reason also patriarchy has been such a big problem is because our films have made this notion even more popular that men are supposed to be the ones who kind of carry the burden of the world on their shoulders, whereas women are just supposed to dance, and they're just supposed to be while the men chase them, they're supposed to be chased by, and if while the men woo them, they are just supposed to either say yes or no, and that's been the problem.
And this just makes me think, I heard this thing recently talking about young girls and young women, that if you set low expectations, they'll meet them, right? Like, and if that's
it's tragic, but absolutely. And what has changed essentially is a new generation of young people. The internet, again, has changed everything, Nick. And this is what is happening, and most people don't realize it, and that's also why UI has been created in many ways. There's a new generation of young people called the Gen Z, right? It's fascinating, but until 2000, I would say, before 2000, there's not a single two Indians who had anything in common. You can look at any two Indians, any two Indians in the world, they have nothing in common. We don't have the same color of the skin, we don't have the same, in America at least, even if the people who are immigrants, English is the bare requirement, right? So everyone speaks one language. At least that is in common, but with India, there's nothing, any two people, caste, community, creed, religion, blah, 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 nothing in common, except the vague notion of what it means to be an Indian, right? Now, but after 2000, almost all young Indians have had this one thing in common, which is that almost all of them have grown up on the mobile phone, almost entirely. What that has done is it has made one generation feel very similarly in the way they think, in the way they believe. There is still, of course, many different things among them, but the fact that they've grown up over here has meant one very simple thing. They have had access to information and awareness about the world much younger than any generation before. How does that change? So far, when I was a millennial, when I was growing up, my parents would tell me this is the way the world works, and I'd believe them. Why? Because I had no other reason not to, right? So the patriarchy would tell me this is what you have to do as a man, and I'd be like, cool, this makes sense. Why? Because there's no other, Bollywood also says the same thing.
Right.
There is nothing else that proves it wrong. I don't read newspapers, I'm too young, so I just believe it. And then the internet comes, and then you realize, no, wait. There's more thing to the world than just what your parents or your society has taught you. The internet has empowered a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old in India today to actually question their parents. When their parents tell you this is the way the world works, they say no, will not. Imagine a girl who's been told that your purpose in life is actually to find a good boy and get married, and the girl is like, no, it isn't. Why? Because I know about this world called feminism. And the mother is like, what are you talking about? And then the girl doesn't want to behave in the way that all women so far have behaved. And that's what's changing the generation essentially. But what is happening, unfortunately, is because the parents don't understand. And society at large is not understanding this change. Young people today are going through so many mental health issues because I'm talking about girls. But imagine boys. Even boys don't want to now just take the burden of running the family and just being the man of the house. Boys want to cry. Boys are sensitive now. They want to cry, but the society tells them, no, you're strong, you can't cry. Girls want to speak. Boys want to speak up. They say, shut up. You have emotion. Doesn't matter. You're a boy. You have to keep your emotions inside of you. Girls want to say something. Girls are like, but you are a girl. How can you say something? So both boys and girls are told to shut up and not speak, because of which they have got so much inside of that they want to put out. And that's causing in one of the largest mental health crises in the world, in our country.
This conflict between I'm being told to behave a certain way, but I know because of the internet and et cetera that it doesn't have to be this way. Yeah. And so how do I reconcile those two things? I mean, that's the root of the crisis.
Biggest thing. And now this is not just a hypothesis for me, right? I would feel this as a teacher. I try to create content to address this on gender to begin with. Huge success, 2 million views. Like some of our pieces of content today are sitting at 10 million per episode, like 50 million per series. When I made a film, where I made a series on gender equality, so I know that it's that big a conversation that was happening among young people. Nobody was addressing it. It's only in the last 4 years that Bollywood's gotten progressive, and now we have female-led films, and they're called female-led films because so far that's never happened. We've only had male-led films.
So it's this whole why we shouldn't even be in a place where we have to call them a female-led film.
Yes, it's just a film.
It's just a film.
Yeah, but the reason you say that is because it's so bizarre that a woman is leading a film that you're like, oh, it's a female-led film. Anyway, so you were in fact, I understood that this is kind of what was going on as a teacher, and as a content creator, I decided to start addressing it. And then I decided that maybe as if I'm working in another company, there's only so much I can do, because of course the company has a larger vision of its own and it wants to make, not necessarily just socially conscious content as well. I moved out. A lot of this was also because I myself went through a period of anxiety. I took a lot of therapy, took a sabbatical, because I was just like, again, as a man, I just felt that, is this all I'm supposed to do? Just earn money and make money and that's it, right? There must be something more to my life. Ended up starting Yuva with two friends of mine who are filmmakers themselves, Anand Tiwari, Amritpal Bindra. In fact, it was Amrit's idea, everything you're going through is a company. I said, that makes no sense. He said, no, it is. So decided to start this. What we did was, I feel I'm very proud of what we did. I mean, you've seen some of the content, but what comes from behind the content is what I'm really proud of. Last year, we went to 26 cities of India. We went to 70 colleges. We spent 4 months on the road listening to young people. I didn't want to, again, be, another big mistake, and I think one of the worst things we do as content creators is we sit in like glass cabins in Andheri, and we're like, this is the youth of India. We just imagine ourselves, we've never stepped out of Andheri. We have never stepped out of our glass cabins and we have this idea, okay, this is the youth of India. Why? Because I feel like it. No, we wanted to actually know who is the youth of India. So we went across the country. 4 months. I personally traveled for 4 months on the road last year, and I just heard young people across. And it blew my mind.
Yeah, what'd you find?
They have. What did I find? That they have so much to say, but there's no one to listen. That's so much to say. Young people in our country have never been given the respect of being heard. There is this saying, okay, it's called "Badon ki izzat karo," which means respect your elders. Which also means that in the only time when you have something to say, it's supposed to be a very nice thing. It's supposed to be a very sweet thing that you have to respect your elders. Nothing wrong with it predominantly, right? Except in a patriarchal setup, anytime a young person has something to say, the elder person would say, "Shut up, you are young, badon ki izzat karo." Now, what that does to a young person is that the voice of the young person doesn't ever matter, because the only voice that matters is the one of the older person. Why is it never said sabki izzat karo, which means respect everybody? And it's never said respect young people, which is just a thing. The other thing also that is unfortunately, which is not just an India thing, but like a world and global thing, right? That somewhere the only stories that get respect are the stories that are, only voices that get respect are the voices that have achievement behind them. That the reason today I'm sitting on your chat show is because you've seen my profile and you're like, okay, this guy is interesting, we should call him, he's done something in his life which is great. And that's the only time people are given a mic. You have done something, you've achieved something, you deserve a mic. But that's not how it should be, right? And every young person, every human being on this planet have something inside of them. There's something that they've learned, something they have to express, something they have to, some wisdom they have to give to the world. Why is it that they're never heard? But so when I would go to these colleges, I would pretty much tell these young people that, you know, I mean, this is not true. These hypotheses that we have, that your story only matters when you're older, your story only matters when you've done something, is explicitly false. If you're a human being, you have a story. If you have a story, you must say it out. We would try and create safe spaces in colleges. We would try and create safe spaces in like open mics and just ask young people to express. And then they expressed. Hundreds and hundreds of kids have spoken about things like sexual harassment. Imagine in a classroom of 150 people, there is a young boy or a young girl, I mean boys as well, have gone all the way to the stage, gone on a mic. I said, I've never said this to anyone before. And then the next thing they say is, when I was 4 years old, when I was 7 years old, when I was 11 years old, I was sexually harassed by someone in my family. And you're hearing this and you're just like, man, to live with that for this long. People who are young kids who are talking about, you know, their sexuality. You know, a kid who has been thrown out of his house at 18 because his father thinks that there's something wrong with him because he's bisexual. You know, the kids who have been bullied because of that. Kids who have literally, whose big thing is that I want to, a doctor in one of India's top medical colleges, a person studying to be a doctor is coming on stage and saying, I'm depressed because I don't want to be a doctor, but my parents think I should be a doctor. Now imagine this guy graduates and starts treating somebody else. Yeah. He himself is depressed. As a doctor, how is he going to provide adequate medical care? Most children are talking about how their parents don't understand them. That is like the number one problem in India. My parents don't understand me. My parents don't listen to me. My parents don't care about me. But that's what we just realized, that if you give the respect to young people, a platform to young people to hear them out, they will speak up and they'll tell you these things that you'll realize that India has so much that needs to be addressed, but nobody is addressing them.
What did you hear though? I mean, there must have been like 2 or 3 things thematically you heard over and over and over
Parenting.
Again.
Number one, just the fact that unfortunately in our So what has happened, unfortunately, right? And the parental gap, there's always been a generation gap, right? In every generation.
Sure, my parents don't understand me.
Absolutely. That's always been there. Except now, this generation, because of the internet, the gap has exploded. Now it's become a communication gap. Why? Because they are on different planets. Parents today still think like parents of, the previous generation, right? I know better than my kids. Why? Because I have more life experience, which is true. Unfortunately, they don't actually have more knowledge than their kids, because the kids have had the internet far before them. So when a 40-year-old, 45-year-old, 50-year-old parent tells a kid, I know more than you, that is explicitly false. An 18-year-old kid today knows more than them.
Yeah, because they're like, hey, Wikipedia says you're wrong.
Exactly. And for parents, this is very tough to reconcile with, saying that how do I now parent when this is explicitly false? Yeah. They just don't know how to go about it. So then the parents are just like, okay, you don't want to listen to me, go to hell. And the kid is like, oh, you don't know how to talk
to your elders.
Correct, respect your elders. And that's all they can say. And the kid is like, you don't understand me, I don't want to talk to you. So now there's just that gap that has increased. And the kids now have if I don't belong to my parents, it's okay because I can belong to the internet. They go online, they go on Instagram, they find communities where they can feel less alone. Imagine a kid who is gay and tells his parent, I'm gay, and the parent says, there's no such thing as gay. And you're like, okay, you don't accept me, that's fine. This kid spends entirely time on the phone in LGBTQ online communities, because that's where the kid feels heard. That's where the kid feels less alone. That's where the kid feels like they belong. This is the big challenge, number one challenge. The second challenge, I would just say, as a society, I think empathy has just gone missing from, society in a very, very large way. The idea of love, for the longest time was romantic love. Anytime anybody talks about love, right, it's like, oh, I have love in my life, which means romantic love, right? Or for example, parental love, or for the example, any other love, but romantic love was the biggest notion. Love has now changed. Love is just somebody who doesn't judge you. If I don't judge you, That is love for people, because this is such a big problem that anything you say, any comment today is visible to hundreds of people.
Yeah.
For anything you say, you are judged. You put any opinion online, no matter what that opinion is informed by or is not informed by, somebody is going to call you an idiot. And then you feel judged.
Yeah.
And if somebody accepts you for every one of the things that you do, that for people is love. Oh my God, I said this stupid thing and this person still likes me and doesn't accept me, doesn't judge me.
But there's some of that too, right? Because I think of my wife, and she'll probably kill me for bringing it up, but oh well. She had posted, this was a couple of years ago, she had posted something fairly innocuous on, I don't know, Facebook or Twitter, and someone kind of attacked her for her view on it, right? And she took it really super hard, and it was just, it's nothing, just ignore it, right? Ignore the trolls or whatever, but she had put something out that she felt, strongly about, and couldn't handle the, I don't know, the sense of rejection or the judgment or something. So how do you talk about these kids, right? I don't want to be alone, I should express myself. But when you express yourself and put your view out and put your stuff, open your heart to the world, how do you prepare for the inevitable onslaught of I'm gay and I'm here, oh, you're going to hell or whatever. How do you prep them for that? Because that shouldn't be traditionally that's not something a 12-year-old had to deal with in the past.
Yeah. But see, that's the reason they have mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
They want to express themselves, but the moment they express themselves, they're looked down upon. So that's the reason they're just on their phones most of the time, and a lot of it, you would imagine that a lot of the issues that they face is online, but they also find community online. They also find belonging online. They also find these safe spaces on the internet, but there are no safe spaces offline. It is in Indian society, it's far more trickier to tell your parents or to tell your family that you're gay than it is to go online and tell you're gay. Why? Because online there's still a bunch of woke liberal people who are who accept you, or who are part of your larger community. It's far difficult to tell for a boy, it's far more difficult to say I want to pursue arts in India than for a boy to say that. Honestly, it is as bad, it's as bad for somebody to say I'm gay, as bad for somebody to say I don't want to be an engineer. That is how terrible things are in India for young people. For a girl to say that I am not going to be somebody's wife, that's not going to be looked down upon. So actually the bigger problem in India is the lack of safe spaces offline.
Yeah.
And that is what actually that we've been trying to create offline.
So with Yuva, you've been trying to create some of those spaces offline.
And then kind of take it to online.
And use that.
Where earlier we used the traditionally content has worked is online, you kind of put out content and then see what happens. And then if there are content companies who want to engage with their community, great. We have done it the other way around. We have gone offline, heard these kids, understood what they're going through, turn all of this into data, turn all of this into insight, use that insight to create the content that we're creating online. We've also put some of these stories that they have said online, and magical things have happened, Nick. I'll tell you one thing, and you will not believe this has genuinely happened. There's this boy who spoke in one of the open mics that we did about how this boy is bisexual and his parents don't accept him and how he's got bullied for this. But he's this lovely boy with a lot of resolve who says that, but it's okay, I'm going to get through this, etc., etc. We put up his story online. It got a lot of love. A lot of people reached out to him, giving him lots and lots of love. Now the thing about this boy was this boy had been kicked out of his house by his parents because his parents said that there's something wrong with you, you must go to a doctor, etc., etc. And they kind of kicked him out, saying that society won't accept you, that's why we don't want to accept you. When he said this story out, he got this so much love, and this is what the boy did next. He printed all the DMs he got in a scrapbook. And then he went to his parents and said to them, you told me society will not accept me. Here's society accepting me. Why can't you accept me? And then what has happened next is that his father still did not, he said, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying, that could go a couple of different ways, but okay.
But his mother, he said the mother saw everything. For 15 minutes she cried. Then she came and held his hand and said, I'm going to try.
Jesus.
And this boy then took a cake and came to Bombay. He was in a different city. He came to Bombay, came to our office to say, this has happened because of that open mic. This is the issues that India is going through, and this is the way that people are. I mean, it's a tough time for these kids.
So that kid has his magical moment, right?
Yeah.
But he, as the young bisexual boy who was rejected by his parents, there's another kid in Gujarat who's in the same position who thinks he's by himself. Yeah. How do you connect that kid with that kid in Gujarat?
Exactly, through the online stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the way, that's why the online works is magic, right? When this boy tells his story, there is some other kid in some other part of India who's hearing this story and being like, oh my God, this has happened to us as well. So again, like, there's this one boy who spoke in Pune about how he had been sexually harassed, and he's like, that's when I realized that when a girl says, he told about how he was sexually harassed and he could not speak up.
Yeah.
He froze and he did not know that it was a man. I could have beaten that man, but I couldn't. After I got off, I could have taken the number of his vehicle. I couldn't. And then I just realized how much of an I had been to all the women who had ever told me that they were sexually harassed, and I would tell them, why don't you speak up? It's not easy.
Yeah.
So he spoke about this in a different city. The clip had already gone online. Somebody else had seen that clip. Because of that, this person wanted to tell his story as well for the first time ever. That boy went through catharsis because of this boy's story. And I'm sure because of his story, some other boy somewhere got through catharsis, some other boy somewhere went through catharsis. And that's the magic of stories. That's the magic. And that's why Yuva has been created, not just to listen to young people and then to put their story out there in a way that can make them feel less alone, make them feel more represented, and kind of make them feel like their story matters, their voice matters, their life matters. And India is one of has the world's biggest youth population. 65% of our country is under 35, out of which 50% is under 25. This year, Nick, we are going to be India's largest youth workforce in the world, beating China. Right? There are more young people getting out into the workforce who are at 21 to 23 this year than ever before in the history of the world. And we don't have a clue what they're going through. We don't have a clue, and let's not even talk about the fact that there is hardly any jobs available for these kids. But even among the jobs that they get, are they going to be happy doing those jobs? Because their jobs have been forced onto them by their parents. What is going to happen to our economy in the largest, when the youth workforce is going into jobs that they don't want and they're not going to be happy in? What's going to happen? What is the mental health crisis that we've seen right now that's going to happen in the next 5 years when they leave these jobs? And they don't know what to do. Not because there are not enough jobs, but they've never found the meaning in the jobs that they do because their parents have told them, you do this or do that.
They're going to go try to find love, I guess.
Who knows,
Look, we're going to have to leave it there, and I'm sorry about that. If people want to learn more about Yuva, how can they find out more?
We are on all social media channels, and our the biggest presence is on Instagram. Okay. We are on VRYuva, WEAREYUVAA.
Okay.
And what we are also doing, by the way, is this year again we are going on a roadshow. So we are going to 50 colleges. We are going to 20 cities. I'm going in February again. This time we are calling it the Roadshow of Kindness, the Yuva Roadshow of Kindness. We want to spend a little bit of empathy, hear these stories. I think stories also create empathy. That's the most beautiful thing about stories. Instagram India has actually come on board because they feel that we are making Instagram a positive space. We have also started this movement online called the 366 Days of Kindness. So from January 1 to January to the
it's a leap year.
It's a leap year, yeah. So till the end of December this year, every single day we're putting up one post about kindness. And when we go on the roadshow, we're going to be asking more people to join in. And so we just want to do a bit in kind of making young people feel less alone and spreading a little bit of empathy.
Well, thank you. I feel a little bit better about life today. So this was cathartic for me just talking to you. Nikhil Taneja, CEO, co-founder of Yuva, today with us on the CharchaCast. There'll be more information in the description. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me, Nick. Thanks.